Good girl.
Brian Hedges first sailed into Port Douglas in the 1980s. He's from Sydney, but 4 years ago, he anchored his boat here permanently.
I ended up going south and it took me 28 years to get back up here. People smile at you, they say good day on the beach, down the road. It's just fantastic terrain. Love it.
It's an idyllic place. It's warm and it's peaceful. A bit too peaceful.
Usually this time of day, everyone's getting off the boats, and this marina's packed upstairs, downstairs, with people getting a beer after being on the reef all day. That's not the case right now.
Brewery manager Chris Barber has just let go of dozens of workers and is back on glassy duties.
Last month we had about 40 staff members and we're down to about 10 now. We spent months and months recruiting, finally got staff up here, and now we don't need them anymore.
Down the road, tour operator Andrea Cameron is making a regular trip to her storage yard. She's only recently bought this bus, which has barely been used.
I'm just popping by most days just to make sure that the battery doesn't go flat.
Before Queensland again closed its border to New South Wales and Victoria, tourism businesses like this were briefly overwhelmed by a lockdown-weary domestic market, escaping to paradise. But the bounce back was short-lived.
To be honest, is worse than the original COVID lockdown, because this time our region up here is not locked down, therefore we don't qualify for any government assistance such as JobKeeper or JobSaver.
There's 240,000 jobs in tourism industry in Queensland, $35 billion of the value to our Queensland economy.
Steve Edmondson runs a reef tour business. He says the grants and other fee rebates on offer by the state government are welcome. But what is really needed is a targeted wage subsidy to help save jobs.
That necessary support now is to buy time. Remember, these are skilled people. You've got wonderful, capable skippers, marine biologists.
While the boats in this marina stay moored, businesses will keep bleeding money. Everyone knows this pandemic will end and the tourists will eventually return. But the fear is when they do, there won't be a big enough local workforce for a town so reliant on its service industries. For now, that workforce is getting ready to drive away.
But now with the COVID, we are not working too much. Like I think
Working nothing.
last week I worked like 13 hours, so I prefer to start traveling.
Suddenly I passed to have 70 hours 1 week. Next week I had 5. They took me off my name off the roster and I didn't have hours anymore.
Even if they wanted to stay, living here is becoming unaffordable. Rental vacancy rates are close to zero. A unit costs about $400 a week and a basic house is over $600. For those trapped in city lockdowns, a new life in Port Douglas now seems even more appealing.
Okay, catch you later.
Real estate agent Phil Holloway says he's been selling properties to people from Victoria and New South Wales sight unseen via video calls.
It just hasn't happened before. Having been here for over 30 years, we've always been busy in the market and there's always something happening, but up until about 3 weeks ago, we had 3 months of absolute madness.
The problem is many of these new owners won't reside up here permanently, and some of the properties sold are being turned into holiday accommodation, tightening an already tight rental market.
Again, it's taken properties that were used for accommodation out of our market and added extra strain, of course, onto this employee side of it. There's nowhere for the employees to live.
Mayor Michael Kerr says the council is trying to approve new housing projects quickly, but it's limited in what it can do to help.
Our planning scheme, it clearly states that, you cannot have short-term accommodation in a lot of these residential areas. And yet we're bound by a lot of the state laws and our hands are tied to try and stop that.
In the nearby town of Mossman, there was already a problem with poverty before the pandemic.
What if we found somewhere up
So we suddenly had this extraordinary scenario where people who've always been able to manage themselves and their finances and been stable, employed community members were unemployed without reason, without notice, and what I call the newly impoverished.
The last 2 years have forced a rethink about how to make the community a better place in the long term.
One positive thing about this terrible situation is that since the homelessness situation in Port Douglas has grown, it's shone a light on the entire Douglas Shire and the existing conditions that the Douglas Shire residents have been facing.
But regardless of the day everyone has had, there is refuge to be found inside the Port Douglas Theatre.
Well, we haven't done any of these.
Outside this place, Jen Kerr is the primary carer of 2 children. Her rental property has just been sold and she has to move out soon. The future is uncertain, but tonight she's helping recharge everyone's spirit.
Isn't that everybody's equal and they all come in here and they all just, we just let go of all the dramas throughout life and, everything that's going on and just have a bit of fun. And it's like therapy. It really is. It's that, it's releasing, it's singing from the inside out, getting all of our worries and that out. I'll rise up, high like the waves, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up.
Life will go on. It's just a bit harder than usual right now.